In this video I'm going to show you how to build seats similar to this to go inside a hot tub. This is the hot tub I built in the last video. If you haven't seen that yet, have a look in the description below for the link, or up in the top corner. And these seats are made specifically to fit a wooden hot tub like this. So let's go do it. The boards for my seat are 375mm long. I have come in from one end 35mm each side, drawn a line back to the other end to the corner, and that angle there will make sure that my seat all goes around in a nice circle. Now there's lots of different ways you can cut these to get them right. If you don't have a table saw, you could just use a circular saw. That's what I'm going to do here. So nice and easy with a circular saw, just going to be very repetitive having to clamp them and spin them around. If you're doing 40 boards, it's a lot to do. So after I've done this one, I'll show you how to do it on a table saw, or how I'm going to do it on a table saw. One method. There's lots of methods you could use. Using the board I just cut with a circular saw, I'm going to use this edge to create a jig. What you're going to need for that is an old piece of ply, just a scrap piece, or a piece of MDF like this. This is a little bit thin, 1/2 inch ply would be perfect. This is 5mm MDF. You'll need something for a runner in your track to attach this to, and you'll need a few scrap bits of wood like this. Basically you're going to set this up, cut edge against the blade. You can then set these up. You make sure you've got a nice tight corner here, because you're going to need that when you flip the board to cut the other side, and a fairly loose one on the top just to hold it in place. So make a setup like that, and then we're ready to cut the boards. Or of course, if you've already got a taper jig on your table saw, you can just use that. I've added a bit of scrap wood here as a makeshift handle. I have screwed a stop to my workbench at the end of my miter saw, and I've set it up so that I can cut 375mm blanks. That will be perfect for my seat and fit in my jig. For cutting the other side, I have attached this piece of timber. It's one of the offcuts from the first cut, and that way I won't ever get anything out of whack. Should all be nicely lined up. There's all my boards laid out in a circle. They all come together nicely. It works. They will, when I've got them in the pool, have a slight gap between them, so it allows for any swelling. And I've also got about another 6 extras. Now you could route these by hand with a palm router, as I'm about to do here, or you can do it on the table, which I will show you in a minute. Remember, when you're routing something like this, if you're going around the outside, you go anti-clockwise. If you're going around the inside of something, you go clockwise. Make sure you start with a fully charged battery. Anyway, so that's all I'm going to do, round them over. On the fronts here, I'm going to round the top and the bottom. Check down in the description for links if you haven't got one of these. So there they are. They look pretty nice, I reckon. 39 of them there. Hopefully that will be enough. That should be about enough. So the seats are cut. The boards that the seats will attach to are cut. They're 32 by 32. I just need some legs now to put them on. The legs I'm making out of this 65 by 45 Vitex. I am cutting these at 400 long with the thickness of my top of the seat. It will bring the total height to 422. I'm also doing one area that will be 700, which will bring it up to 722, and that is for the step when you get in and for when you get too hot and you just want to get out of the water a bit. I'm going to cut a 45mm channel on the table saw with the table sled that we used in making the groove in the bottom of the staves, so hope you didn't throw that away. The way this will go together is seat slat held with this 32 by 32 and then sitting on top of my legs with the cross member, and this will sit on top of that, the slats, like so. So overall we're looking at 375 long for the slats. I'm thinking we come in a bit so that we're 330 in total length, so the legs aren't right at the front of the seat. That means 330 minus 2 of this thickness, which is 35, so that's 70. So that's 260, am I right? And we'll bring it in from the back, say another 10 mil. So we'll say 250 mil. So I will cut a whole lot of braces or cross members at 250, and then we'll screw these things together. With those cut, it now comes time to put everything together. I'm going to put it together with these stainless steel 12 gauge 65mm long decking screws. So I will be drilling through the 2 bits of timber first because I don't want them to split. This is hardwood. It splits very easily if you don't put a pilot hole in your timber first. I'm going to use this 4.5mm bit with a countersink already on it. Saves a process. And we'll do that on the drill press. Now that I've made all the frames, I'm attaching the brackets first that I made earlier. Putting them on first will make it a lot easier when I'm in the tub. My first 2 legs are screwed in position. I've cut 2 32 by 32mm boards from the top there, and I am going to sit my slats on top of that, and then I am going to brad nail them from underneath just to hold them in position, and then I'll flip it over and screw them with stainless screws. It was a bit cramped to film that in the tub with me in the way and everything, so what I did was I laid these on top of those 2 slats that you saw, and I nailed from underneath just to hold them in place enough that I could pull this whole thing out, flip it over, and then screw it. And I'm going to screw it with 45mm stainless countersunk screws, and I am going to drill pilot holes first. Make sure you set your drill bit so you don't drill straight through the top of your slats. I'm real happy the way that's turned out. This is the seat for which you step onto when you get in, and you can sit on to cool down. So now I just need to repeat it 5 or 6 more times for the lower section, which is where that brace is in the middle there. Both suction ports in and half the seats in. Looking good. I'm now just going to put some lower seats on this side, and I'm going to leave a gap over this side so I can stand up on it and lean against the side if I wish. Well, that looks pretty good, even if I do say so myself. I've rounded off the corners of the seats there on this high seat just so we don't hit our legs on them. So that's the seats done. Hope that was of some help if you are building a hot tub. if you are building a hot tub, check out my next video, which will be the steps that lead up to get into this thing. They'll be a hardwood and stainless steel affair. Till then, thanks for watching guys. Subscribe to make sure you get all these hot tub vids, and I'll see you on the next one. Still got to do the pump.